The crystal chandeliers of the Palmer House's ballroom should have felt magical. They just felt heavy. The air was thick with the scent of gardenias and expensive perfume, and the low hum of 60 of our closest friends and family was supposed to be the soundtrack to my happiness. My left hand felt strangely light. I'd taken off my new engagement ring to avoid getting pastry filling in the setting, and its absence was a tiny, persistent itch. Daniel was across the room, laughing with a group of his college buddies, his arms slung around his father's shoulder. He looked perfect. Looked perfect. Emily Lawson, rising star at Fitzgerald Reed Architects, and Daniel Wright, the charming, dependable financial analyst from a good, solid Chicago family, a match everyone approved of. I took a sip of champagne, letting the bubbles chase away a flutter of nerves I couldn't quite name. Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel's father, Robert, called out, tapping his fork against his glass. The hum died down. If I could have your attention. I know we're here to celebrate Daniel and Emily, but my daughter, Jessica, has been nagging me all night for a moment to speak. He rolled his eyes with theatrical fondness. So, to preserve my peace, I'll hand it over. A ripple of polite laughter. Jessica, Daniel's older sister by 5 years, stood up, smoothing her sheath dress. She had the same sandy hair as Daniel, but where his was warm, hers was severe, pulled into a tight knot. Her smile was broad, practiced. "Thank you, Dad," she said, her voice carrying effortlessly. "For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jessica, the one who had the good sense to give my parents their first grandchild." More laughter. She held up her champagne flute. "I've been looking forward to this day for a long time. Welcoming a new woman into the right family is a big deal. It's about more than just love. It's about continuity. It's about responsibility." Something in her tone made the champagne sour in my stomach. I saw Daniel's smile tighten slightly. "Our family," Jessica continued, sweeping her gaze across the room, "has certain traditions, values that have held us together. My mother," she nodded toward Eleanor, who sat smiling serenely, "has been the absolute backbone of this family, the glue. And as Daniel brings Emily into our fold, I just want to share a few hopes for our future." Daniel caught my eye and gave a slight, helpless shrug, as if to say, "Just Jessica being Jessica." "Emily," she said, turning her full attention to me. The room's focus followed. "We're so thrilled Daniel found someone so accomplished. But a family like ours runs on more than blueprints and client meetings." A titter from one of Daniel's aunts. "I look forward to seeing you at our traditional Sunday family dinners. Mom could really use the help in the kitchen. Those recipes are a rite of passage. And of course, taking over the management of the household accounts for Mom and Dad will be such a weight off their shoulders. It's how we all learn the ropes. You know, the little things, remembering Dad's golf schedule, making sure Mom's charity luncheons are on the family calendar, being the point person for family communications. These are the acts of service that truly bind us." The room was utterly silent now. The clink of a fork somewhere sounded like a crash. I felt a hot flush creep up my neck. This wasn't a toast. It was a job description, a public, non-negotiable proclamation of my subservience. Daniel was staring at his plate. He didn't look at me. Jessica raised her glass higher. "So, here's to Emily. May you embrace the beautiful, rewarding role of being the heart of the right family, just as our mother has. We can't wait to have you fully integrated." She took a sip. A few scattered, uncertain here's followed. Most people just looked stunned or embarrassed. All the blood that had rushed to my face now settled into a cold, hard knot in my chest. The room's warmth vanished. I placed my champagne flute on the table with a precise, quiet click that echoed in my own ears. I stood up. My legs felt steady. That surprised me. "Jessica," I said, and my voice was clear, calm, and carried just as well as hers had. It was my project meeting voice, the one I used with stubborn contractors. "Thank you for that detailed vision of my future, a nervous chuckle from somewhere. I do have two questions, though, I continued, tilting my head as if genuinely curious. First, are these specific duties the bookkeeping, the kitchen service, the personal assistant tasks for your parents? Are these documented, right family traditions? Or are they more personal expectations from you? The air left the room. Jessica's smile froze, then cracked at the edges. It's how our family works. It's tradition. I see, I said, nodding slowly. My second question is for Daniel. Then, I finally looked directly at my fiancé. His head snapped up, his eyes wide with a deer in headlights panic I'd never seen before. In this proposed family structure Jessica just outlined, what exactly will your role be? What specific, traditional responsibilities will you be assuming to bind us and be the backbone of our new family unit? Silence. A profound, ringing silence. Daniel's mouth opened, but no sound came out. He looked from me to his sister, to his father, who was now frowning deeply. I'll be providing. Of course, Daniel stammered, his voice weak. And, supporting the family. Supporting how? I asked, my tone still lethally polite. Emotionally, logistically, by taking on half the management of our household accounts? By learning your mother's recipes alongside me? Emily, this isn't the time for Robert Wright began, his voice a low rumble of warning. I think it's the perfect time. I interrupted softly, still looking at Daniel. I just heard a very specific job offer for my married life. I'm trying to understand the full organizational chart. My partner's position in this family corporation seems undefined. Daniel found his voice, but it was the wrong one. It was placating, dismissive. Eminesia, sweetheart, Jess is just excited. She gets carried away. You're taking this way too literally. Can we just enjoy the party? Enjoy the party. The three words were a dismissal, a request to swallow the public humiliation and play nice. I looked at his face, the face I loved, the man I'd chosen to build a life with, and I saw a stranger. I saw a boy who was terrified of his sister's disapproval, hiding behind a weak smile. The clarity was like ice water. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I simply picked up my purse from the back of my chair. I think I've enjoyed all of it I can, I said to the entire, mortified table. Please, everyone, continue celebrating. Thank you for coming. And I walked out. My heels clicked a steady, decisive rhythm on the marble floor. I didn't look back. I heard a commotion behind me. Daniel's voice calling my name. Jessica's shriller tone. The rising buzz of scandalized conversation. But it all faded into a muffled roar behind the heavy doors of the ballroom. The cool night air of State Street hit me like a slap. I hailed a cab, my movements automatic. My phone buzzed in my clutch before the cab had even pulled away from the curb. Daniel, I silenced it. It buzzed again, and again. I stared out the window at the blur of city lights. Jessica's words looping in my head. The heart of the family, acts of service, integrated. The cab ride was a blur. My apartment, the one I'd owned for 3 years before Daniel had ever spent the night, felt like a sanctuary. I shucked off the expensive lavender dress, a color Daniel's mother had suggested, and pulled on an old Northwestern sweatshirt. My phone had lit up with 7 missed calls and a string of texts. Daniel, 9:47 p.m. Emily, come on. Where did you go? Daniel, 9:49 p.m. You really embarrassed my family back there. Daniel, 9:53 p.m. Call me. We need to talk. Jessica feels awful. Daniel, 9:55 p.m. You know how she is. She didn't mean it like that. Daniel, 10:01 p.m. This is childish. Come back, or at least answer your phone. I didn't feel angry yet. I felt hollow and profoundly awake. I scrolled back up through our messages from earlier in the week, looking for, I didn't know what, a sign I'd missed. Then, a new text popped up, not from Daniel. Eleanor Wright, 10:15 p.m. Emily dear, We missed you at the after party. Jessica's heart was in the right place. She just wants what's best for the family. You'll learn our ways. Looking forward to having you officially start as our little helper. Sleep well. Our little helper. The hollow space inside me filled with a cold, sharp rage. It was so condescending, so assured, as if my walkout was a minor hiccup, a temporary blip in my inevitable assimilation. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened the Notes app on my phone. I typed a single heading: financial points of contention. My mind, trained to solve structural problems, switched into a different gear. The emotion was pushed to a simmering compartment. The facts were what mattered. The down payment, the Lincoln Park townhouse, my dream. We'd found it together. The asking price was steep. My savings from 6 years of brutal hours at the firm, $1 $20,000, covered the 20% down payment and then some. Daniel had contributed $25,000, a combination of a birthday gift from his parents and some of his own savings. Let me at least feel like I'm contributing, he'd said with that charming smile. The title we'd gone together to sign. It had been a whirlwind. The lawyer, an old friend of Robert's, had talked so fast. I'd been so focused on the final number, on the thrill of it. Had I read every line? I'd seen both our names. I'd assumed it was joint ownership. Was it? A sickening doubt uncoiled in my gut. The wedding fund. My parents had passed away years ago. My inheritance, carefully managed, was my safety net and my wedding fund. I'd already paid deposits for the venue, the photographer, the band, all vendors subtly steered toward us by Eleanor Wright. Daniel had said his family would cover the rehearsal dinner and the honeymoon. His personal contributions had been minimal. He'd talked about year-end bonuses, future planning, joint accounts. We'd opened one joint checking account for shared expenses. Each month, we auto-deposited an equal amount. I'd insisted on it, wanting everything modern and equal. He'd agreed easily. Too easily. I opened my laptop and logged into our banking portal. I scanned the transactions from the joint account. Groceries, utilities, a couple of nice dinners. Then, last month, a transfer to Jay, Wright for $1.500. Memo. Loan repayment. Jessica. Daniel hadn't mentioned it. I clicked back further. Another, smaller transfer 2 months prior. Same memo. My hands were steady as I picked up my phone. I didn't call Daniel. I called my college roommate, Chloe, who was now a ferocious divorce attorney at Kleinbauer. It rang twice. Shouldn't you be knee-deep in champagne and canapes? Her voice was cheerful. Chloe, I said, and the flatness in my own voice startled me. I need a lawyer, not for a divorce, for a pre-engagement. The silence on the other end was complete for a beat. Okay, she said. All business now. Talk to me. What happened? I told her. I recited Jessica's speech. My questions. Daniel's reaction. His mother's text. I listed the financial points. My voice detached. Clinical. When I finished, Chloe let out a long, slow whistle. Wow, the Wrights really went full Stepford new. Okay. Listen, do not engage. Do not answer his texts with anything emotional. If you must respond, be a gray rock. I need space to process. That's it. First thing Monday. You come to my office. We're pulling the property deed. We're freezing any joint assets you can. And Emily? Yes, you did the absolute right thing. Asking those questions in that room was the bravest, smartest thing you could have done. It forced the truth out into the open before you signed a marriage license. Now, we just have to follow the money. I hung up. The cab of anxiety in my chest loosened. Just a fraction. I had a plan. I had an ally. A final text flashed on my screen. Daniel, 10:48 p.m. I'm outside your apartment. We need to talk. Let me in. Emily, this is ridiculous. I walked to the window. Sure enough, his Audi was idling at the curb downstairs. I could see the glow of his phone on his face. I watched him for a full minute. The man I was supposed to marry. The man who had sat silently while his sister offered me a lifetime of servitude with a champagne chaser. The man who now called me ridiculous. I didn't text back. I simply closed the blinds, walked to my bedroom, and shut the door. The knocking started a few minutes later. Soft, then persistent, then frustrated. I put in my earbuds, turned on a podcast, and started drafting an email to my real estate agent about the current market value of Lincoln Park townhouses. The knocking eventually stopped. The silence in my apartment was no longer hollow. It was full of a grim, clarifying purpose. The engagement party was over. The audit had begun. The knocking stopped just after midnight. The silence that followed was more oppressive than the sound had been. I sat at my kitchen island, the stark glow of my laptop illuminating a half-empty glass of water and my printed copy of the townhouse purchase agreement. The podcast had been a useless buffer. I'd heard none of it. My mind a relentless processor, cycling through Jessica's words, Daniel's face, and the cold columns of numbers on my screen. My phone lit up with a final text. Daniel, 12:07 a.m. Fine. Have it your way. We'll talk when you're being rational. Rational. The word was a spark in a gas-filled room. I put the phone face down. Sleep was impossible. At 6 a.m., showered and dressed in jeans and a sweater, I was making coffee when a key turned in the lock of my apartment door. My entire body went rigid. He still had a key. Of course he did. We'd never discussed him returning it. The normalcy of that oversight now felt grotesque. Daniel stepped in, looking wrecked. His dress shirt from last night was wrinkled, his eyes bloodshot. He held a paper tray with 2 coffees from our usual place. The familiar gesture, the attempted normalcy, made my stomach turn. Eminesia, he said, his voice gravelly. I brought you a latte. Skim milk. Extra shot. Please, can we just talk? He placed the coffees on the island, pushing one toward me. I didn't touch it. You let yourself in. I stated, my voice flat. I still live here. Emily, half my stuff is here. He ran a hand through his hair. Look, about last night. Jesus, what a disaster. I am so sorry about Jessica. She gets this idea in her head about how things should be, and she just vomits it all over everyone. She feels terrible. I leaned against the counter, crossing my arms. Does she? Yes. She called me crying after you left. She said she was just trying to welcome you, to express how much the family values cohesion. Cohesion, I repeated. Is that what we're calling it? Her public list of my future domestic duties? She didn't mean it like a list. Daniel sighed, the exasperation seeping into his tone. It's just her way. It's how she sees family. My mom does all that stuff. And Jess thinks it's, like, a sacred bond. She was trying to include you in it. By announcing to everyone we know that I'll be doing your parents' bookkeeping and being your father's social secretary? Did you know she was going to do that? Of course not, he said, but his eyes flickered away for a fraction of a second. It was as much a surprise to me as it was to you. Was it? I asked quietly. You didn't look surprised. Daniel, you looked uncomfortable. Then you looked at your plate. You didn't say a word. Not one word. What was I supposed to do? He burst out, throwing his hands up. Start a fight with my sister in the middle of our engagement party? Humiliate her in front of the whole family? The irony was so thick it choked the air in the room. So it was better to let her humiliate me? She wasn't humiliating you. God, Emily, you're so sensitive about this stuff. You always have to turn everything into a feminist manifesto. It was a toast, a badly worded, overenthusiastic toast. I stared at him, the man I'd shared a bed with for 2 years, the man who'd praised my ambition, who'd said he loved my fire. Now my fire was me being sensitive, turning things into a feminist manifesto. Let's be clear, I said, my voice dangerously calm. You believe her expectations that I work full-time as an architect while also becoming the unpaid household manager for your parents are just a badly worded toast. That's your official position? He deflated, leaning on the island. Look, they're Expectations, they're old-fashioned. I know that, but that's my family. You marry me. You marry them. There's going to be some compromise. Compromise. I said, okay, let's compromise. If I'm managing your parents' calendar and bills, you'll be managing my parents' affairs? Oh, wait, I can't. They're dead. So maybe you can take over the maintenance and scheduling for my portfolio of investment properties instead? That seems like a fair trade for the emotional labor of remembering your dad's tea times. That's not fair, and you know it. He muttered. Why? Because it's real work with real financial consequences? Because it's not women's work? Stop twisting my words. He snapped. It's just different. In my family, the women handle the domestic sphere. That's how it's always been. It works for them. And what? I asked. The question I'd asked in the ballroom, now landing in the cold, intimate space of my kitchen. Is the man's role in this domestic sphere? What will you be handling, Daniel? Specifically, he was silent for a long moment. I'll be the provider, he said finally, but it sounded hollow. Rehearsed. We both provide. Financially. Equally. More than equally. If we look at the down payment for our home, I let that hang. So again, what specific, tangible responsibilities in the running of our household and your family's affairs will you take on to be an equal partner? His face hardened. I'm not going to sit here and be interrogated with a list of chores. Emily, this isn't a business merger. It's a marriage, a family. You support each other. You don't keep score. I'm not keeping score. Daniel, I'm reading the rule book your sister just handed me, and I'm asking if you're on my team or on theirs. There is no team, he shouted, his composure finally shredding. It's not you versus my family. Why do you have to make everything so black and white? Can't you just try? For me? Can't you just go along with some of it to make things easier? Sunday dinners aren't the end of the world. Helping my mom with her spreadsheets a few hours a month isn't slavery. There it was. The core of it. Go along with it. Make things easier for him. My trying. My compromising. My swallowing of dignity. That was the price of admission to his life. The clarity was so brutal it was almost peaceful. I have a question, I said, my voice now devoid of all emotion. The down payment, my $120.000. Your $25.000. On the title, are we joint tenants? Or is there something else? The shift in topic threw him. He blinked. What? Why are you talking about that now? What does that have to do with anything? Just answer the question. Daniel, when we signed at your dad's friend's office, what does the deed say? He shifted his weight. Uncomfortable. It says we both own it. Jesus. Eminesia. Is this about money now? After what happened last night, you're worried about the money? Always. I said simply. What about the transfers from our joint account to Jessica? The $1.500 last month. The one before that. Loan repayment. You never mentioned you'd loaned her money. His face went pale, then flushed. You're going through our account? Seriously? That was private. It was family stuff. She was in a bind. She's my sister. I help her out. With our shared money. Without consulting me. It's not our money until we're married. Technically, he shot back. A desperate, legalistic defensiveness taking over. And it was my contribution to the account. I can do what I want with it. So your $25.000 down payment and your monthly contributions are yours to spend on your family's binds. But my significantly larger financial investment in our future is, what? Community property to be managed according to your sister's guidelines? You are unbelievable, he whispered, shaking his head. Last night was about my sister having a big mouth. And now you're trying to turn me into some kind of financial predator? You're paranoid. My phone buzzed on the counter. A calendar alert. 11 a.m. meeting with Chloe Kleinbauer offices. Daniel saw it. His eyes narrowed. Chloe, you're meeting with your lawyer friend? About us? Are you kidding me? Emily, I need to understand my legal position, I said, picking up my phone and my bag. Since my future seems to be up for negotiation by committee, I'd better know what I'm bringing to the table. Your legal position, he echoed, aghast. We're engaged. We're supposed to be planning a wedding. You're talking to a lawyer? You refused a prenup. Daniel, I said, walking to the door. You said love didn't need contract. It seems you were wrong. Love might not need one, but your family's traditions certainly do. I'll be back later. I'd like you to be gone, and I'd like my key on the counter. You're throwing me out? Over this? I'm asking for space. And for my key. Or what? He challenged. A flash of the old. Confident Daniel breaking through the panic. I opened the door and looked back at him, standing in the kitchen of the home I'd bought before I knew him, surrounded by the life I'd built. Or I'll have the locks changed today, and I'll call your father's friend, the real estate attorney, and ask for a very specific, very urgent review of our property title. Your choice. I didn't wait for an answer. I closed the door behind me. The click of the latch a definitive, satisfying sound. The drive to Chloe's downtown office was a blur of gray November sky and steely resolve. The hollow feeling was gone, completely replaced by a focused, electric anger. Chloe's corner office was all sleek lines and panoramic views of the Chicago River. She stood up as I entered, dispensing with hellos. Okay, talk. What happened after you left? I told her about Daniel's visit, the conversation, verbatim as best I could remember. When I got to the part about the joint account transfers, she held up a hand. Stop. He said, what? It's not our money until we're married. She let out a short, sharp laugh. Oh, that's precious. Legally inaccurate, but precious. She started typing furiously on her keyboard. Give me the approximate dates and amounts of those transfers. And the name on the account is just J, right? Yes. $1.500 last month, around the 15th. Another for $800 about 6 weeks before that. She nodded, making notes. All right. First order of business. The deed. She turned her monitor toward me. She'd already pulled up the Cook County Recorder of Deeds database. You gave me the address. Let's see what the lovely Mr. Henderson, friend of the rights, filed. My heart hammered against my ribs as she searched. There it was, the property record, our names. Read the vesting, Chloe said quietly, pointing to a line of text. I read it, then I read it again. The words seemed to swim on the screen. Title is held as Daniel P. Wright and Emily G. Lawson as joint tenants. Relief flooded me for a second. Joint tenancy. That meant equal ownership, right? The right of survivorship. Keep reading, Chloe said, her voice grim. I scrolled. There was an attached document, a declaration of trust that had been recorded simultaneously with the deed. I skimmed it, my legal knowledge hazy, but sufficient to grasp the horror. Oh my God. I breathed. Yeah, Chloe said softly. It's a land trust, a sneaky, not uncommon one in certain circles. You're both beneficiaries, which is why it looks like joint tenancy on the surface. But the trustee, the one with the power of direction, the one who controls the property, is listed as Daniel P. Wright. Solely, she tapped the screen. He has the unilateral power to sell, refinance, or transfer the property without your signature. Your interest is beneficial, meaning you have a financial stake, but you have zero control. And the kicker? She scrolled down. The trustee can be changed by the appointment of the majority of the beneficiaries. Since he's the only voting trustee, he's the majority. He could appoint his daddy as successor, trustee tomorrow if he wanted to. I felt physically ill. The room tilted. He said we both owned it. We sat there together. The lawyer talked so fast. He talked fast because he was pulling a fast one. Chloe said flatly, your $120.000 bought you a seat at the kids' table. Emily, Daniel holds all the cards. And given the cozy relationship between that lawyer and the Wright family, I'd bet my license this was their idea. A way to secure the asset for their son while making you feel like an equal participant. The betrayal was so profound, so coldly calculated, it felt like a physical blow. It wasn't just Jessica's arrogance or Daniel's spinelessness, it was a financial ambush. They'd planned to lock me in, to make my largest asset vulnerable to their control. What do I do? My voice was a stranger's. First, you breathe, Chloe said, her tone shifting to that of a field general. Second, we fight. This is actionable. This is fraud in the inducement. You contributed the bulk of the down payment based on the representation of equal ownership. We send a demand letter today to Daniel, to the lawyer, and to the title company, outlining our intent to sue for fraud and for a constructive trust. We demand he immediately quitclaims the property into true joint tenancy with right of survivorship, with you as co-trustee, or we file suit and seek not only the title change, but damages. We also freeze that joint account. Now, she slid a pad of paper toward me. Write down your online banking login. I'll have my paralegal, who is also a notary, witness you signing a limited power of attorney so I can act on your behalf. We move fast and we move hard. I wrote, my hand steady despite the tremor in my soul. What about the wedding? The deposits? Everything stops. Today, you call every vendor, cite unforeseen circumstances, and ask about cancellation policies. Some you'll eat the cost on. Consider it a cheap lesson compared to what you almost lost. She looked at me, her eyes fierce. Emily, listen to me. This isn't a disagreement about Sunday dinners. This is a systemic attempt to disempower you. Financially, socially, personally. The speech was the manifesto. The trust is the enforcement mechanism. My phone buzzed in my bag. Again and again. I didn't need to look to know it was Daniel. The 30 calls had begun. Don't answer. Chloe ordered. Not a word. All communication goes through me now. He's not your fiancé right now. He's the opposing party in a financial dispute. I took a deep, shuddering breath. The last remnant of the woman who'd put on a lavender dress the night before dissolved. Okay, I said, do it, as Chloe began dictating instructions to her paralegal. My phone lit up on the table. A new text, not from Daniel. Eleanor Wright, 11:47 a.m. Emily, dear, Daniel is heartbroken. We're all so concerned. This silliness has gone on long enough. Come to dinner tonight. We'll smooth everything over. Jessica wants to apologize. 7 p.m. Don't be late. I showed it to Chloe. She smirked, a predator's smile. Oh, good. They've convened the tribunal. Want to have some fun? What do you mean? Go to dinner, she said, her eyes gleaming. Don't say a word about the trust. Don't mention me or the letter. Just listen. Let them talk. Record everything on your phone. In this state, one-party consent is all you need. Get them to reiterate their expectations. Get Daniel to confirm, on tape, that he knew about the trust structure. Its ammunition. It felt dangerous. It felt necessary. What should I wear? I asked, my voice dry. Chloe laughed. Wear armor. Honey, invisible armor. And send me the audio file when you get home. The Wright family home in Winnetka was a monument to understated wealth. It felt less like a home and more like a stage set for a drama about wealthy people behaving badly. I parked my car, my phone's voice memo app already recording in my purse. Chloe's words echoed. Invisible armor. Eleanor opened the door before I could ring the bell. Her smile was a thin, tight line. Emily, so glad you decided to join us. We were worried about you. Her tone suggested I was a misbehaving child. Thank you for having me. Eleanor, I said, my voice neutral. The dining room was formal. Jessica and Robert were already seated. Daniel sat at the far end, looking down at his napkin. He didn't meet my eyes. An empty chair waited for me between Jessica and Eleanor, a seat in the firing line. We'll serve ourselves, Eleanor announced, gesturing to the platters of roast chicken and vegetables. Family style, more intimate. As soon as I sat, Jessica launched in. her apology rehearsed and dripping with condescension. Emily, about last night, I think you misunderstood my enthusiasm. I only want you to feel included. The things I mentioned, they're not chores. They're privileges. The women in our family have always been the keepers of our home's heart. I took a small portion of chicken. I see. And Daniel, what are the men in your family the keepers of? Robert cleared his throat. A low, warning sound. The men provide stability, security. We build the foundation so the heart can flourish. He said it as if quoting a bad corporate mission statement. Fascinating, I said, keeping my eyes on my plate. A very specialized division of labor. Daniel, do you feel you're building a stable foundation for us? Daniel flinched. Can we not do this right now? Let's just eat. Oh, but I'm genuinely curious. I pressed, my tone light, given that I've built my own financial foundation, the down payment on our house. For instance, what kind of stability are you providing that's different from mine? The air froze. Jessica's fork clinked against her plate. That house is our future, Daniel said, finally looking at me, his eyes pleading. It's ours. Why are you bringing money into this? Because last night, Jessica brought labor into it. I'm just trying to understand the full economic model of this marriage. My capital, my labor, your symbolic stability. Your attitude is the problem, Jessica snapped, her composure breaking. This transactional thinking. Marriage isn't a business contract, isn't it? I asked, finally looking up, meeting her gaze. You presented a list of my duties. That sounds like a job description. I'm asking about compensation, benefits, and my partner's role. That seems logical. Eleanor placed her hand over mine. It was cold. Dear, you're overwrought. The house is a shared blessing. The details. Daniel's father's friend handled all that to protect both of you. It's so complex. Better left to the experts. My phone in my purse was capturing every word. Protect both of you. The perfect segue. I'm sure, I said softly. That trust structure he set up, the Illinois Land Trust. It is complex. Silence. A profound, deafening silence. Daniel's face went sheet white. Robert's fork stopped midair. Jessica looked confused. What trust? Jessica asked. Daniel found his voice. A strangled sound. Emily, what are you talking about? It's just a standard deed. Is it? I tilted my head. Because my understanding is that in a standard joint tenancy, we'd both have control. The document I reviewed today says you're the sole trustee. You have the power to sell our home without my knowledge or signature, using my money. I kept my gaze locked on him. Did you know that, Daniel? When we signed, did you know you were getting all the power and I was getting none? Now, see here, Robert began, his voice booming. I'm asking your son, Robert, I said, cutting him off, my eyes never leaving Daniel's crumbling face. Of course I didn't. I mean, the lawyer explained it was for liability. For, he stammered, for making sure your family's investment was secure, regardless of what happened to me. I finished for him. Was that the reasoning? Don't you dare speak to him that way. Jessica stood up, pointing a finger at me. You ungrateful little. After everything we've tried to do for you, to welcome you, you tried to make me an indentured servant, and your brother tried to swindle me out of a 6-figure investment. I stated flatly, standing as well. The chair legs screeched against the floor. I'd say your welcome has been perfectly clear. I picked up my purse. The engagement is off. Consider this my formal withdrawal from the Keeper of the Heart program. I'll have my lawyer contact you tomorrow. Daniel, you'll be hearing from her tonight. Your lawyer? Daniel squeaked. Yes, Chloe Klein, of Klein Bauer. You'll want to have yours. Probably your dad's friend who set up this little scam. On speed dial. I turned and walked out of the dining room, through the cavernous foyer, and out the front door. I didn't run. I walked calmly to my car. As I turned the ignition, my phone lit up. Not a call. A text from a number I didn't recognize. Unknown number. 8:22 p.m. Check the Cook County recorder site. Now, Chloe, pulling over a block away. I fumbled with my phone. Chloe had texted me a direct link. I clicked it. It was a new filing on the townhouse. A notice of assignment of beneficial interest. Filed today at 4:58 p.m. Daniel P. Wright had assigned 50% of the beneficial interest in the land trust to Robert Wright. He'd given his father half of my house. My hands shook, but not with sadness, with white-hot, incandescent rage. He hadn't even waited for the lawyer's letter. He'd panicked and tried to further entrench his family's control. I hit play on the voice memo I had just recorded. My own voice, cold and clear, filled the car. Did you know that, Daniel? When we signed, did you know you were getting all the power and I was getting none? His stammering, guilty reply was all the confirmation I needed. I dialed Chloe. She answered on the first ring. You heard? He just gave his father half of it. I said, my voice terrifyingly steady. I saw. It's a desperation move. It changes nothing about the fraud. It just adds another defendant to the lawsuit. Send me the audio. Now, the cavalry is coming. I sent the file. As I pulled back onto the street, my phone began to vibrate and vibrate and vibrate. Daniel calling, Jessica calling, Robert calling, Daniel calling, Eleanor calling. I silenced it. The screen flashed again and again, a strobing light of their panic in the dark car. 30 calls, maybe more. They could call all night. I was done listening. Chloe's office smelled of coffee and laser-printed paper. Okay, Eminesia. They've declared war with that assignment filing. Now we fire back. She slid a document across the polished desk. This is the demand letter. It goes to Daniel, Robert, and the slimeball attorney, Henderson. It outlines the fraud, cites the audio evidence of Daniel's knowledge, and gives them 48 hours to quitclaim the property into true joint tenancy with you as co-trustee. Failure to do so results in us filing suit for fraud, constructive trust, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. We also demand full restitution of every penny you put into that house, plus damages. I scanned the legalese. It was brutal, precise, and beautiful. What about the joint account? Frozen this morning. Your POA went through. His $1.200 monthly deposit hit this morning, and it's locked. He'll find out when his card gets declined for lunch. A vicious little smile played on her lips. Now, the fun part. Social media. Chloe, I don't want to get into a posting war with Jessica. Not a war. A controlled detonation. You don't post a thing, but you need to control the narrative before she paints you as a gold-digging hysteric. I have a friend at the Tribune. Lifestyle section. They'd eat up a modern bride cancels wedding over archaic family demand story. Anonymous, but with enough detail that anyone in your circle will know it's you. It frames the story your way from the jump. I hesitated. It felt nuclear. Is that necessary? Emily, he gave your house to his daddy. They are playing for keeps. We need public pressure. It makes settling our way more attractive to them. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it. Speak of the devil. It's Henderson's office. Wanna listen? She put it on speaker. Chloe Klein. Ms. Klein. This is Martin Henderson. I'm calling regarding your rather inflammatory letter to the Wright family. I'm sure you are. Martin. My client has a simple demand. Undo the fraud. Fraud is a strong and libelous word. My clients acted in good faith to protect both parties in a complex asset purchase. The land trust is a common vehicle for liability protection. Your client's misunderstanding does not constitute fraud. I saw Chloe's eyes harden. Misunderstanding? Your client, Daniel Wright, on a recorded line, admitted to not fully understanding the trust's terms, despite it granting him sole control over an asset funded predominantly by my client. That's fraud in the inducement. Then, upon being confronted, he attempted to further alienate her interest by assigning it to his father. That's conversion. We have the recording. Martin, we have the paper trail. We will win. And when we do, We will be seeking legal fees from your firm for your role in this good faith endeavor. There was a long silence on the other end. A recording, yes, of a dinner conversation last night. One party consent state. Martin, perfectly admissible. Would you like me to play you the part where your client stammers through his non-explanation? His tone shifted, becoming slicker, more conciliatory. Ms. Klein, surely we can resolve this without dragging these fine families through the mud. My clients are willing to buy out Ms. Lawson's beneficial interest at the original contribution amount, $120.000. A clean break. I felt a surge of nausea. They wanted to give me back my initial money and keep the property, the appreciation, everything. Chloe laughed. A short, sharp sound. Not a chance. The demand stands. Full title correction. 48 hours. The clock started an hour ago. She hung up. She looked at me. They're scared. The recording changes everything. Now, they'll try to go around me. They'll call you. They'll beg. They'll threaten. You say one word. Talk to my lawyer. Then hang up. Understood? My phone buzzed in my hand. Daniel. I showed the screen to Chloe. Do it. I answered, putting it on speaker. Talk to my lawyer. Daniel. Emily. Wait. Please. Just listen. His voice was ragged. Panicked. You can't do this. You recorded my family? At a private dinner? That's sick. Talk to my lawyer. I repeated, my voice monotone. My dad is talking about suing you for defamation. Henderson says you have no case. They'll ruin you. You'll never work in this town again. Chloe mouthed threat and pointed to her phone, indicating she was recording the call now. 2. Is that a threat regarding my professional livelihood, Daniel? I asked, making my voice coldly curious, because my lawyer is listening, and that's legally very interesting. He gasped, realizing the trap. I just mean, God, Emily, this is all a mistake. Just come home. We can fix this. I'll fix the trust thing. How? By asking your daddy to sign his half back? And then what? I become the keeper of the heart? No thanks. Talk to my lawyer. You're being unreasonable. It's just a house. It's just some paperwork. Why are you destroying our future over paperwork? The sheer, staggering ignorance of the question took my breath away. It's not paperwork. Daniel, it's respect. It's integrity. You have none. Talk to my lawyer. I ended the call. Chloe gave a low whistle. Beautiful. He just gift-wrapped an extortion and coercion argument for us. Her computer chimed. She looked, and her smirk faded. Well, Jessica didn't wait for the Tribune. She turned the monitor. It was a Facebook post, shared publicly by Jessica Wright. To all our friends who witnessed such ugliness at what should have been a joyful occasion. Some people enter a family with open hearts. Others come with calculators and tape recorders. My brother's heart is broken by a woman who valued property over partnership, and who violates the sanctity of a family dinner with secret recordings. We pray for her. #family first. #true love doesn't keep score. It already had over 100 hearts and angry face emojis. Comments were flooding in. So awful, Jess. You tried to welcome her. A tape recorder. Psycho behavior. Daniel dodged a bullet. My face burned. The misrepresentation was breathtaking. Right on schedule, Chloe said, cracking her knuckles. Now we release our statement. Not from you. From me. She began typing furiously. A press release to my contacts. And a post on the firm's professional page. Facts only. No emotion. 15 minutes later, she showed me, Kleinbauer, on behalf of our client Emily Lawson, confirms the dissolution of her engagement to Daniel Wright. This decision follows the discovery of serious financial misrepresentations made by Mr. Wright regarding a joint property purchase, wherein Ms. Lawson provided the majority of the capital but was denied any control or ownership rights. Further, upon confrontation, Mr. Wright attempted to unilaterally alienate the property. Ms. Lawson has filed formal demands for restitution. This is a straightforward matter of financial fraud and breach of fiduciary duty. We have conclusive evidence, including recorded admissions, to support our claims. We will not be trying this case on social media, but we will correct the record when it is defamed by interested parties. All further inquiries should be directed to this office. It's perfect, I whispered. It was all facts. It made them sound like con artists. It'll run in the Crane's Business Digest tomorrow. Their circle cares about that more than Facebook. Chloe said, Now, go home. Unplug. Let them spin in the storm we just kicked up. I drove back to my apartment, my mind buzzing. As I entered, my landline phone was ringing. The home phone I never used. I stared at it. Only a few people had that number. My parents, now gone, and Daniel's family. I picked it up, saying nothing. Emily. It was Eleanor Wright. Her voice was strained, stripped of its usual honeyed tone. This has gone far enough. You will stop this. You will retract those lies from your lawyer, and you will settle this quietly. We are prepared to offer you $150,000, more than you put in, but you sign an NDA. You disappear. You do not speak of my family again. I felt a terrifying calm. Or what? Eleanor? Your son already threatened my career. What's your version? You'll blacklist me at the country club? Spoil my reputation with your charity board? A sharp intake of breath. You foolish girl. You have no idea what you're up against. We built this city. Your little lawyer can't protect you from the consequences of slandering our name. It's not slander if it's true, I said softly, and I'm recording this call, too. So thank you for the evidence. Talk to my lawyer. I hung up. The invisible armor Chloe had spoken of? It was hardening into steel. They weren't a family. They were a syndicate, and I had just declared open season on their operations. The storm hit at 9 a.m. the next morning. My phone, set to do not disturb except for Chloe's number, still buzzed like a trapped hornet with notifications, Facebook tags, Instagram DMs, emails from vague acquaintances. The Tribune piece had gone live, and Chloe's clinical press release had been picked up by Crane's Chicago business. The narrative was shifting from jilted bride to alleged financial fraud. My personal email inbox had a new message with the subject line, Urgent, for your eyes only. The sender was an encrypted service I didn't recognize. My pulse quickened. I opened it. Emily, you don't know me, but I work with Daniel at Gibson Finch. I can't stay silent anymore. He's been telling people for months that he landed a rich architect who's buying them a house in Lincoln Park. He called it his retirement plan. He showed a bunch of us the trust documents at a happy hour once, bragging about how his dad's lawyer set it up tight so you couldn't get crazy in a divorce. I'm sorry. I thought it was just drunk talk. After seeing the news today, I know it wasn't. I have screenshots of him texting about it. Let me know if you need them. A coworker. Attached were 3 blurry but readable photos of text message exchanges on Daniel's phone. 1. To a friend named Mark. Read, Dude, prenup talks are a nightmare. Luckily, Henderson structured the house so it doesn't matter. She can't touch the asset. Genius, right? The cold, calculating truth of it was worse than the emotional betrayal. It was a business strategy, and I'd been the mark. I forwarded everything to Chloe with a single line. More ammunition. Her reply was instantaneous. Bingo. Hold tight. Do not respond to the sender yet. I was pouring coffee when my intercom buzzed. Not my phone, the old building intercom. Few people had that code. Daniel. I walked over and pressed the button. Yes, Emily. It's Jessica. We need to talk. Face to face. Without lawyers. Her voice was strained, stripped of its usual performative confidence. A thrill of dangerous curiosity shot through me. Chloe's voice echoed in my head. Let them talk. Record everything. I had my phone in my hand. I opened the recording app, hit record, and placed its screen down on the entryway table. I'm listening, I said into the intercom. Not like this. Let me up. 5 minutes. That's all. I debated. Letting the wolf into the den was risky, but knowledge was power. 5 minutes, I said, buzzing her in. She looked smaller in person, without a podium or a dining table to command. Her expensive coat was buttoned wrong. Her eyes were red-rimmed. She didn't wait for an invitation. Brushing past me into the living room. You have to call off your attack dog, she said, whirling around, dispensing with any pretense. Chloe is my lawyer. You'll have to speak with her. This isn't about the damn house anymore. She hissed, her composure cracking. Do you have any idea what you've done? That press release. Financial fraud. My husband's partners are calling him. My friends are whispering. You're making us look like criminals, aren't you? I asked calmly, leaning against the doorframe, blocking her exit. The scheme seems pretty criminal adjacent from where I'm standing. It was a mistake, a stupid, legal thing. Daniel didn't understand it either. The texts from his coworkers suggest otherwise, I said, watching her face pale. He seemed to understand it just fine when he was bragging about it to his buddies. She flinched as if slapped. The information was new to her. Good, that's hearsay. It doesn't matter. She took a step closer, her voice dropping to a venomous whisper. What matters is you stop. Now, or I will ruin you. I almost laughed. How? By posting more vague Facebook platitudes? I think we're past that. Jessica, a nasty smile twisted her lips. I know things about you, Emily. Things from your past. That little breakdown you had in college. The hospitalization. The medication. What would your fancy architecture firm think if they knew their star designer was unstable? A liability. The air left my lungs. My college struggle with severe depression after my parents' death. My brief, voluntary inpatient treatment. It was my most guarded secret. Daniel was the only one I'd ever told. Daniel told you. I whispered. The betrayal a fresh wound. He tells me everything. She sneered. He was worried about you. He's a good brother. And now I'm worried. Too. A fragile woman. Under immense stress. Making wild accusations. It's a tragic story. But people would understand. They'd pity you. And then they'd dismiss every word you say. The rage was a cold, clear stream now. It focused me. You're threatening to disclose my private medical history to discredit me professionally if I don't drop my legal claims? I'm expressing concern for your well-being, she said, the facade of caring slipping back into place, grotesque and transparent, and the well-being of my family. Drop the demands, take the buyout, sign the NDA, and we can all move on. Your little secret stays safe with me. I stared at her. This woman who had just crossed a line from cruel to monstrous. The recording app on my phone was a silent witness, inches away. You know, I said, my voice eerily calm. I've been doing some digging too. With all this talk of family finances and obligations, I got curious. Your husband, Paul, he's a partner at that venture capital firm, right? And you're the office manager for the family business. Right Holdings. Her eyes narrowed. What's your point? My point is liquidity. Running a family office. Managing distributions, it's complex. I had my lawyer look at some recent property filings. The loan against your Lake Forest home was surprisingly large. And then there's the curious timing of those loans from Daniel's joint account, my joint account, to you, right before big tax payments were due for Right Holdings. I was bluffing, weaving together Chloe's snippets of gossip and the public loan records she'd mentioned. But Jessica's face told me I'd struck a nerve. Her smugness evaporated, replaced by a flicker of panic. You have no idea what you're talking about. She spat, but the venom was gone, replaced by fear. Don't I? I pushed off from the doorframe. I think the SEC might be interested in the cash flow of a family office that needs regular, undocumented loans from its son's personal account. Or maybe just your father-in-law. I hear Paul's father is quite the stickler for fiduciary duty. Her hand flew to her mouth. The color drained from her face. You wouldn't. You just threatened to destroy my career by weaponizing my mental health. I said, my voice low and steady. You tried to turn me into your family's indentured servant. Your brother conspired to steal from me. So tell me, Jessica, exactly what line you think I wouldn't cross. She was trembling now, her earlier bravado completely shattered. What do you want? I want you to leave, and I want you to know this. If one word of my private history leaks to anyone, for any reason, my next call won't be to my lawyer. It will be to the Securities and Exchange Commission, and I will provide them with every transaction record, every text, every piece of speculation I have about you scrambling to cover your tracks with Daniels, with my money. Are we clear? She nodded, a quick, jerky motion, unable to speak. Get out. She practically ran to the door, fumbling with the latch. When it slammed shut behind her, I let out a long, shaky breath. I walked to the table and stopped the recording. I played back the last minute, my voice, cold and threatening, and her terrified silence. It was a nuclear standoff, mutually assured destruction. My phone buzzed. A text from Chloe. Chloe, heads up. Henderson just called. They've accepted our terms. All of them. They'll quitclaim the property to you as sole owner within 24 hours to avoid litigation. They want a mutual NDA. I stared at the message. Victory. A complete, unconditional surrender. Jessica's visit made sense now. This was their last, desperate play to avoid exposure on a much bigger scale than a messy, broken engagement. I typed back, my fingers steady. No mutual NDA. I won't sign anything that silences me. They can have my silence on their financial schemes only if they return every penny I invested, plus 50% of the appreciated value as calculated by an independent appraiser, and a public statement from Daniel admitting he misrepresented the property terms. Otherwise, I take the house and the story goes public. I added the audio file from Jessica's visit and wrote, new leverage. Jessica just threatened to disclose my confidential medical history. I countered with implications about her mismanagement of family funds. She folded. Use this. They're terrified of a deeper audit. The 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, her reply came. Chloe, holy hell, you are an avenging angel. I'll present the new terms. They'll choke on them, but they'll swallow. They have no choice. I looked around my quiet apartment. The battlefield had shifted. It was no longer about winning a house or a settlement. It was about ensuring they could never hurt anyone like this again. The price of my silence had just gone up. And for the first time since the engagement party, I felt not just clear, but powerful. Chloe's conference call speakerphone hummed. Martin, Emily is here. We're ready. State your client's response. Henderson's voice was weary. We accept Ms. Lawson's new financial terms. Appraised value, 50% to her, plus full restitution. We do not accept a public statement from Daniel. It's a non-starter. Then we're done, I said, my voice flat. The story goes to the Tribune lifestyle editor in an hour, with audio clips. Wait, it was Daniel's voice, shaky and raw on the line. Emily, please, a public statement? It would destroy me at work. It's a career ender. You should have thought of that before you destroyed our partnership. I replied, we will agree to a private, signed affidavit from Daniel admitting the misrepresentation. Henderson cut in, trying to regain control. It can be used in any future court proceeding you wish, but it remains under a confidentiality seal, and in return, your total silence on all matters, including the speculative concerns about right holdings. They were bargaining hard to keep the fraud quiet. Jessica's fear was my leverage. The affidavit is a start. Chloe said, but we need more. We want all digital copies of Emily's private medical records, held by any member of the Wright family, deleted. We want written confirmation from their IT security consultant, and we want Jessica Wright to sign a separate, binding agreement never to contact Emily again, professionally or personally, under penalty of significant financial damages. That's outrageous, Daniel yelled. Is it? I asked. Your sister stood in my home and threatened to use my health history as a weapon. I want the weapon destroyed and the wielder disarmed. Those are my non-negotiables. A long silence. We heard muffled arguing on their end. Then Henderson came back. Defeated. Agreed. All of it. We'll draft the settlement packets. One more thing. I added. I want it done in 72 hours. I'm done living in this drama. The clock is ticking. After Chloe hung up, she let out a low whistle. You drove a hard bargain. Sole ownership of the townhouse. A massive cash payout. A confession locked in a vault. And Jessica muzzled. It's a clean sweep. It's not clean, I said, gathering my things. It's just over. The 72 hours were a tense ceasefire. My phone was blessedly silent. I focused on work. The precise lines of blueprints, a soothing antidote to the emotional chaos. On the morning of the third day, my doorbell rang. A courier with a thick, legal-sized envelope. The settlement documents from Henderson's firm. As I was signing the final page, my phone buzzed. Daniel, against my better judgment. I answered. It's done, he said, his voice hollow. The money's being wired. The affidavit is signed. The house is yours. Are you happy now? You've bankrupted me. My parents had to liquidate stocks to cover your payout. Jessica's husband isn't speaking to her. You've torn my family apart. The lack of remorse was stunning. I didn't tear anything apart. Daniel, I just refused to be swallowed whole by it. You did this. You and Jessica and your parents. With your schemes and your rules. He gave a bitter, choked laugh. You know what the sick part is? The only reason I had access to that trust fund money to pay you is because I turned 30. The one thing in my life that was finally mine. And you took it. A trust fund. Of course. The final piece of the puzzle. His symbolic stability had always been a guaranteed inheritance. My hard-earned savings were just a convenient tool to leverage his future wealth. Goodbye, Daniel, I said, and ended the call. I looked at the stack of signed documents. It was over. I had won. But as I placed the courier envelope by the door, I felt no triumph, only a profound, weary relief. The battle was over. But the cost of the silence I demanded was just beginning to settle in my bones. Jessica's text was a blade of ice. Meet me, Columbus Park, now, or your secret goes to every partner at Fitzgerald Reed by 5 p.m. I showed Chloe. She's panicking. Chloe said, scanning the latest filings. The SEC tip, sent anonymously through her network, had triggered a routine inquiry into Wright Holdings. The pressure is working. Go. Record. End her. The park was bleak. Winter gray. Jessica stood by the empty fountain, her face pinched with fury. She didn't wait for a greeting. You unbelievable bitch. An SEC inquiry? My husband's partners are having a conniption. They think we're criminals. I kept my voice calm, my phone recording in my coat pocket. I have no idea what you're talking about. Jessica, I'm not in finance. Don't play dumb. She spat, stepping closer. You think you're so clever with your lawyer and your recordings. Well, I have something for you, too. She thrust her phone at me. On the screen was a scanned document, a discharge summary from Northwestern Memorial, dated years ago, with my name and a diagnosis of major depressive disorder. How fast do you think your rising star status plummets when this lands in HR? Architecture is a conservative field. Emily, they don't like liability. They don't like instability. The violation was absolute. Seeing that private document in her hand made my skin crawl. But the fear was gone, burned away by a colder fury. You obtained my private medical records illegally. I stated, the words measured. That's a HIPAA violation. A federal crime. Who did you bribe? A hospital clerk? Daniel's old roommate who works in admin? Her smirk faltered for a second. Prove it. I don't have to prove it to send you to prison. Jessica, I just have to give this recording and your threat to the U.S. Attorney's Office. They'll prove it. I took a step toward her. But let's talk about your crime. The money. The The loans from Daniel weren't for a new BMW, were they? They were to cover the shortfall in the family business accounts. The one you manage. The one the SEC is now sniffing around. Her face went ashen. That's a lie. Is it? I have transaction records. I have speculation. The SEC loves speculation. They'll subpoena everything. Your emails, your texts, your home equity loan documents. They'll tear your perfect life apart looking for the truth. And Paul's father? How will he feel when he finds out his daughter-in-law was cooking the books? She was shaking now, her bravado utterly shattered. You can't. I already did. I said softly. The tip has been filed. The gears are turning. You threatening my career with an illegal medical record is just accelerating things. So go ahead. Send it. See what happens. Tears of rage and terror filled her eyes. What do you want? I want you to understand, I said, leaning in so only she could hear. You tried to break me. You tried to make me small. All you did was show me how weak your castle really is. It's built on secrets and other people's money. And I have the keys. I turned to leave. Wait, she cried, her voice breaking. Please call it off. The SEC. I'll destroy the records. All of them. I'll never speak to you again. I paused, looking back. The SEC isn't a faucet I can turn off. Jessica, you should have thought of that before you stole from your family and threatened mine. I walked away, leaving her sobbing by the dry fountain. The chill in the air felt clean. The secret was out, not mine, but hers, and its weight was now hers alone to carry. Chloe's office felt different now, less like a bunker, more like a command center after a decisive victory. Spreadsheets and legal pads were replaced by a single, hefty document, the final settlement, she said, sliding it across the desk. They folded, completely. I scanned the summary. The townhouse was mine, free and clear, via a quitclaim deed already filed. A wire transfer for the agreed sum. My original investment, plus a staggering six-figure share of the appreciated value, was pending. The affidavit from Daniel, admitting to the intentional misrepresentation of the property's title structure, was attached. The confidentiality and non-disparagement clauses were mutual but narrow, focused solely on the property settlement. It did not cover Jessica's financial maneuvering or her threats. And my medical records? I asked, my finger resting on that clause. A signed affidavit from their family's IT security consultant, confirming all digital copies have been purged from any device or cloud storage linked to any Wright family member. It's a legally binding document. If they lied, the penalties are severe. Chloe leaned back, a satisfied glint in her eye. The SEC inquiry is a slow burn. It's out of our hands now, but it's keeping them very, very honest. My phone vibrated. A notification from my bank. The wire had hit. The number was so large it felt abstract. It wasn't joy I felt, but a profound, settling finality. It's done. I breathed. Almost. Chloe corrected. There's one last piece of mail for you. She handed me a thick, creamy envelope. My name was written in an elegant, familiar script I hadn't seen in years. Eleanor Wright. I opened it. A check fluttered out. For $50,000. A note was attached. Emily, this is not part of the settlement. This is from me. A gesture of sincere apology for the pain my family has caused you. I was wrong. I raised a son who was weak and a daughter who was cruel. I see that now. I hope this can help you build a new future, one free of our shadow. Please, no reply is necessary. Eleanor. I stared at it, dumbfounded. What is this? Chloe took the check, examining it. A guilt payment, a Hail Mary attempt at moral absolution. It's clean, no strings. Cash it. Consider it emotional damages. It feels dirty. It's the cleanest money you'll ever get from them, she said bluntly. It's an admission of guilt. Take it, donate it, burn it, but don't send it back. That's what she wants, a moral victory, a connection. Deny her. I nodded, folding the check into the envelope. The final, bizarre artifact of the war. So, Chloe said, her tone shifting. What's next for Emily Lawson? A vacation? A sports car? A down payment on a castle? I looked out her window at the gleaming skyline, the city that housed my old dreams and my new reality. I'm going to sell the townhouse, I said. It's tainted. And with this, I tapped the settlement summary. I don't need it. And then, a purpose, clear and sharp, had been forming in the quiet spaces between the battles. I'm going to start a nonprofit, a legal fund and resource center for people, mostly women, probably who get screwed in premarital financial setups. No more, he said. She said, just education, resources, and access to lawyers who aren't friends of the family. Chloe's professional mask slipped, revealing genuine surprise and something like pride. Well, damn, that's actually amazing. You'll need a fierce board of directors and a founding attorney. I know a good one, I said, meeting her gaze. A slow smile spread across her face. I'll clear my calendar for the first meeting. I stood to leave, the weight of the documents in my hand feeling like a foundation, not an anchor. Thank you, Chloe, for everything. Don't thank me, she said, walking me to the door. Just send me the first 10 clients. Now, get out of here. You have a future to build. As I stepped out onto the bustling street, the chill wind felt like a baptism. My phone buzzed one last time. A news alert from Crane's Chicago business. The headline made me stop short. Wright Holdings announces internal audit. CFO steps down amid family transition. The subhead mentioned a voluntary review of certain liquidity management practices. Jessica's world was cracking. The public facade was shifting. It wasn't a scandal. Not yet. It was a quiet, professional implosion. The kind that ruins reputations and ends country, club memberships. I didn't smile. I felt no schadenfreude. I simply deleted the alert, turned off the phone, and walked into the stream of people, anonymous and free. The past was settled. The future, for the first time in a long time, was entirely my own. The rain blurred the lights of the city into smears of gold against my office window. It was past 8. The floor quiet except for the hum of the servers. I was packing up when the elevator pinged, and hurried. Sodden footsteps echoed in the empty hallway. Daniel stood there, drenched, his suit jacket clinging to him. He looked hollowed out, his eyes wild. Emily, please. Security would be here in minutes if I hit the panic button. I didn't. I just watched him. You shouldn't be here. I know. He ran a shaking hand through his wet hair. I had to see you. To explain. The affidavit explained everything I need to know. That was legal bullshit. Henderson's words. This is me. He took a step closer, the smell of rain and stale whiskey reaching me. You think I wanted any of this? The trust? The rules? I was trapped. You had a key and a signed deed giving you all the power. Daniel, that's not a trap. That's a kingdom. It's a gilded cage. He burst out, his voice cracking. You don't understand my family. It's not just Sunday dinners. It's everything. My job at Gibson Finch? My father's golf partner is the managing partner. My trust fund? Released only with maturity, their definition. Jessica, she's the enforcer. If I step out of line, if I embarrass them, the money dries up. The referrals stop. I become a nobody. He was crying now. Pathetic. Angry tears mixing with the rain on his face. They liked you because you were successful. You looked good on paper, but you had to be integrated, managed. Jessica's plan was always to soften you up, to get you focused on the family so you wouldn't look too close at the finances, at me. And when you pushed back at the party, God, it was like you declared war on their whole system. I had to choose, them or you. The raw, ugly truth of it hung in the sterile office air. Not a grand conspiracy of hate, but a pathetic machinery of control. So you chose the money, I said. No anger left, just a cold clarity. I was scared. He sobbed. What was I supposed to do? Be poor with you? Struggle? I've never had to struggle. You're strong. You built yourself. I'm just a product. a product they were willing to recall if it malfunctioned. I finally understood the man before me. Not a villain, a hostage, a weak, cowardly hostage who had chosen his jailers over his freedom. And now, I asked, the money's gone. To me, the trust is broken. So why are you here? He looked up, a desperate hope in his eyes. Because now I have nothing to lose. Now I can choose you. We can start over. For real this time. No family, no rules, just us. The audacity was breathtaking. He saw the destruction of his gilded cage not as a consequence of his actions, but as an opportunity for a do-over. With me, the one who had, in his mind, conveniently both caused the destruction and remained as a consolation prize. Let me get this straight, I said slowly, picking up my bag. You conspired to defraud me. You let your family abuse me. You only come to me, begging, after I've taken a financial wrecking ball to your life. And you think that's a foundation for a fresh start? It's a clean slate. We've both been punished. We're even. We're not even, I said, my voice low and final. You were punished for being a cheat and a coward. I was rewarded for surviving you. Those are not the same. There is no us. There is you, alone, finally facing the consequences of building your life on a foundation of other people's money and expectations. And there is me, walking away. The hope in his eyes died, replaced by a frantic, cornered rage. You're really this cold? After everything we had? You're just going to take the money and run? Yes, I said simply, walking past him toward the elevator. That's exactly what I'm going to do. He grabbed my arm, his grip too tight. You can't. You owe me. You owe me a chance. I looked down at his hand, then back at his face. Let go of me, right now. Something in my tone, the absolute lack of fear, the complete dismissal made him recoil. He released me as if burned. You'll regret this, he whispered, venom returning. You'll be alone, and you'll realize what you threw away. I stepped into the elevator and turned to face him as the doors began to close. He was a shrinking, sodden figure of pity and spite in the empty hall. I already was alone. Daniel, I said softly. I was alone the moment I said yes to you. Being by myself is an upgrade. The doors shut, cutting off his stunned, furious face. The elevator descended in peaceful silence. I felt no pity, no lingering love, only a profound, grateful distance. He was broken, but he was not my man to fix. He was simply a lesson, learned in full and finally, blessedly, over. The sold sign on the Lincoln Park townhouse was a small, satisfying flag of victory. The final closing documents were in my briefcase. My realtor, a sharp woman named Maria, handed me the keys to my new condo, a sleek, modern space in the West Loop with no history, no ghosts. All yours, Emily. Clean slate. Clean slate. I agreed, the words tasting true. Back at my temporary apartment, boxes were half-packed. My laptop was open to a business plan document titled Equity Partnership Initiative. Chloe's feedback popped up in the track changes. Too vague. Call it what it is. The prenup project. Scares the right people. Empowers the right ones. I smiled and made the change. My phone buzzed. It was Mark, the coworker who'd first sent me the damning texts about Daniel. Mark. Saw the sold sign. Heard through the grapevine you're starting something new. Gibson Finch just placed Daniel on administrative leave. Officially for personal reasons. Unofficially, the partners think he's a liability and a joke. The bragging texts got around after your story hit Cranes. I typed back, thanks for the update. The new venture is called the Prenup Project, a legal resource fund. Maybe you know some people in finance who'd want to advise? We need board members who've seen the ugly side of family money. His reply was immediate. I know a few. They'll call it reputational risk management. I'll call it karma. Count me in. The doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. Through the peephole, I saw a young woman, early 20s, looking anxious. I opened the door a crack. Emily Lawson? She asked, wringing her hands. Yes, My name is Kara. I was I was supposed to be Jessica Wright's new assistant at the family office. The job fell through last week. She said the position was eliminated due to restructuring. She took a shaky breath. I heard about you. From a friend of a friend. She said you understand the rights. I stepped back, letting her in. What happened? Kara? She sat on a moving box, her story tumbling out. The job was a dream. Good salary. Benefits. Then, the day before I started, Jessica called. She said there'd been a change. The job now came with a family service component. I'd be expected to run personal errands for her, her mother, sometimes even Daniel, pick up dry cleaning, plan parties, manage their personal calendars. It was a lot, but I needed the job. I agreed. She looked down at her hands. Then she emailed me a confidentiality agreement. It was insane. It said I could never discuss my work duties, the family's personal lives, or their financial affairs with anyone for the rest of my life. The penalty was like my entire salary times 10. I showed it to my uncle, who's a lawyer. He told me to run. He said it was a lawsuit waiting to happen, and they'd use it to bury me if I ever stepped out of line. I felt a cold fury. Jessica was just replacing one helper with another, this time with a legally gagged employee. You were smart to walk away, I said, but I'm out of work, and I'm scared. Kara whispered. She was so angry when I declined. She said I'd never work in this city again. Do you think could she do that? I thought of Eleanor's $50,000 check, still uncashed in my drawer. An idea, sharp and clear, formed. No, Kara, she can't. And I'm starting an organization that will, among other things, help people who are pushed into these kinds of coercive agreements. We're going to need a program coordinator, someone who understands the pressure firsthand. The pay won't be right family levels, but the non-disclosure agreement will only cover our donor's privacy, not your right to breathe. Her eyes widened, filling with hope and disbelief. Seriously? Seriously. Send your resume to my lawyer, Chloe Klein. Tell her I sent you. I scribbled Chloe's email on a notepad. Consider this your first lesson in a healthy workplace. No one should own your silence. After she left, glowing with relief, I opened my laptop again. I navigated to the website for the Illinois Secretary of State and began filling out the articles of incorporation for the prenup project. NFB. My phone rang. Chloe, hey, just got an interesting email from a Kara Jennings. Fast worker. I like her. More importantly, I just got off the phone with the Tribune reporter who did the first piece. She wants a follow-up, not about the scandal, about what comes after, about your new venture. She's calling it from personal crisis to public purpose. I leaned back in my chair, looking at the Chicago skyline. The past was a closed ledger. The future was a blank page. And I was finally holding the pen. Set up the interview. I said, let's tell the story we want told. The Tribune headline read, Broken Engagement Funds, New Beginning. Architect launches legal fund for financial abuse victims. My phone had been buzzing all morning with messages, some from old colleagues offering support, a few from distant relatives I hadn't heard from in years, and 3 offers from potential donors to the prenup project. Chloe called mid-morning. The piece is perfect. It frames you as a survivor, not a victim, a problem solver. We've already had 2 serious media requests for you to speak at women's leadership conferences. That's fast, I said, looking around my nearly empty apartment. The moving boxes for the new condo were stacked by the door. It's the right story at the right time. She replied, now, the harder call. Daniel's lawyer, Henderson. He's requesting a final meeting. Says his client wants to return personal effects. I think it's a last-ditch plea for mercy before the SEC inquiry deepens. Want me to handle it? I thought of Daniel's broken, rain-soaked figure in my office. No, I'll meet him. Neutral ground. A public coffee shop. You come, but sit at another table. The coffee shop was bustling with lunchtime traffic. Daniel arrived alone, looking diminished. He carried a small cardboard box. He sat across from me, not meeting my eyes, placing the box on the table between us. Your things, he mumbled. Some books. That scarf you left at my parents' house last Christmas. Thank you, I said, my voice neutral. I didn't touch the box. He finally looked up, his eyes haunted. The Tribune article. I read it. I waited. You made me sound like a monster. I quoted facts and legal documents. Daniel, you provided the narrative. He flinched. They're forcing me out at Gibson Finch. Mutual separation. My father's friend couldn't save me. The partners said my lack of judgment posed a reputational risk. A bitter laugh escaped him. My whole life, I was told to protect the family reputation. Now I am the reputation risk. There was no satisfaction in his downfall, only a profound sadness for the life he'd never had the courage to claim for himself. What will you do? Heading out west. Montana. A buddy has a ranch. Manual labor. No finance. No family. No expectations. He stared into his untouched coffee. I'm sorry, Emily. Not just for the scam. For not being the man you thought I was. For not even trying to be. It was the first true, unvarnished thing he'd ever said to me. No excuses. No blaming his family. Just a statement of failing. I accept your apology, I said quietly, and I meant it. The anger was gone. All that remained was clarity. He nodded, a jerk of his head, and stood to leave. He hesitated, looking at the box. There's an envelope in there. 2. From my mother. She asked me to give it to you. I didn't open it. Then he was gone, melting into the sidewalk crowd. I lifted the flap of the box. On top of the folded scarf was a thick, linen envelope. Inside was a handwritten note from Eleanor and a cashier's check for $25,000. The note was short. Emily, this is not from the family. This is from me. For your project. A small step toward repairing what cannot be repaired. Do not reply. E. Chloe slid into the vacated seat. What's that? Seed money for the prenup project, I said, showing her the check. From Eleanor Wright. Chloe's eyebrows shot up. Conscience money, but money nonetheless. It'll cover our first year's operational budget. Ironic, isn't it? Poetic. I corrected, tucking the check away. Their system created the problem. Now it's funding the solution. My phone vibrated with a calendar alert. 3 p.m. Final walkthrough. West Loop condo. I stood, leaving the box of my old life on the coffee shop table. I only took the envelope. Ready to go see the future? I asked Chloe. She grinned, looping her arm through mine. Honey, the future's been waiting for you to show up. As we stepped out into the bright afternoon, my phone rang. A number with a 415 area code. San Francisco. I answered. Emily Lawson? This is David Chin from Sanford Partners Venture Capital. We read about the prenup project in the Tribune. We have a philanthropic arm that focuses on economic justice for women. We'd like to discuss a significant grant. Do you have time for a call next week? I looked at Chloe, who was watching me, a knowing smile on her face. The city stretched out before us, full of noise and light and possibility. Yes, I said into the phone, my voice steady and sure. Next week is perfect. 1 year later, the San Diego Convention Center hummed with the energy of 1,000 professionals. The annual Women, Wealth, and Wellness Summit was in full swing. Backstage, I adjusted the microphone on my lapel. My notes a distant thought. The title of my keynote was projected on a massive screen behind the podium. The prenup, beyond the paperwork, designing partnerships of true equity. A hand touched my shoulder. Chloe, looking sharp in a tailored suit, grinned at me. Nervous? Not even a little, I said, and meant it. The nerves that once accompanied thoughts of public speaking had been burned away in a much hotter fire. Good, because the room is packed. I saw 3 reporters and at least 2 potential 7-figure donors in the front row. Oh, and your new architect boyfriend is lurking by the coffee station, looking unbearably proud. A warm flicker of happiness spread through me. Michael, a structural engineer I'd met at a city planning meeting 6 months ago. His first gift to me had been a set of blueprints for a treehouse he wanted to build for his niece. No hidden clauses, no secret trusts, just clear, honest lines. The stage manager gave me a signal. I walked out into the spotlight. The applause was a warm wave. I found Michael's face in the crowd, his easy smile a silent anchor. Thank you, I began, my voice clear in the vast hall. A little over a year ago, I stood in a different kind of spotlight,